Thank you. Good evening, Patriots. And thanks once again to Phil Moffitt for his tireless efforts in the cause of liberty. He's a great patriot here in Louisville and for all of Kentucky. I want to thank all of you for your commitment to freedom, to protecting the cause of liberty and our fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution, just for our protection. As he said, my name is Andy Hightower. A very nice introduction. I run an organization called the Kentucky Club for Growth. We are an organization dedicated to fighting and winning for economic freedom here in Kentucky. We pay attention to the politicians in Frankfort and how they vote each year on the issues that affect your pocketbook. The tax increases, the new taxes, the spending increases, and every year we compile a report that details how each one of them have voted on these issues. And we tell you which ones are defending the taxpayers' interests and your economic freedom. And I'll tell you what you already know. It isn't very many of them. Next year, the Club for Growth is going to go across Kentucky and recruit a few good candidates to take out the Republicans and Democrats that aren't standing up for your interests. That's going to be our objective, and we're going to get a pro-growth majority in the Kentucky House and Senate. And I ask you to join us and in that effort. We're an affiliate of a group called the National Club for Growth, and last year they had an incredible year, spending millions of dollars backing a solid slate of candidates. You might have heard of some of these: Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, Mike Lee in Utah, Marco Rubio in Florida. They're all senators. Their efforts sacked rhinos like Bob Babbage in Utah. Their efforts kicked Arlen Specter and Charlie Crist out of the Republican Party and put real conservatives in their place to join the Senate. And I'm proud of that record. Here in Kentucky, they endorsed a guy named Rand Paul, you might have heard of. Today, this is the third time that we are celebrating freedom, we're celebrating liberty, the third year of the Tea Party revolution here in Kentucky. 2 years ago, when we all gathered on tax days and in March, I went to the 5,000 person rally in Cincinnati in February, and then down in Paducah on April 15th, and we had a huge rally in Lexington in late March, and it was just incredible. And we were rallying against large financial bailouts and bailouts of banks and auto manufacturers that have been suffocated for years by unions. Unbearable, ridiculous deficits that were brought onto us by wasteful government spending in the trillions. We were looking down the barrel of government-run health care forced on us by the Democrat majority in Congress and the president. And Congress was trying to pass restrictions like on carbon dioxide, a gas we all exhale and create anytime we light a candle. And I'm sorry to say, this hasn't changed. The government still owns banks and auto companies. Obamacare is marching forward. The EPA is still threatening to shut down factories and even farms and schools because when they regulate carbon dioxide, they're going to have to regulate it from individual sources, just like they do any other gas. And we all create it. And we're still facing trillion-dollar deficits for years. Did you know that today in America, there are twice as many people working for the government, 22.5 million, than work in all of manufacturing in this country, just 11 million. We're still under a pressure, and there's still a lot for us to do, but we are making small advances. While the recent budget agreement that passed just this week is pretty pitiful, don't forget that it's a change. Domestic discretionary spending grew by 6% in 2008. It grew by 14% in 11% in 2009, and 14% in 2012. And this year, it will decrease by 4%. Well, we've got a long way to go. A decrease is a big difference than an increase. And it's the Tea Party, the pressure that is created by groups of people like you who come out in the middle of a storm under jets, that is creating this change in direction. The Tea Party has helped put a lid on spending, both in the country and in Frankfort. Over the last 3 years, Kentucky state government, as Phil talked about, we faced a $1 billion shortfall. Just as states across this country have faced sharply reduced revenues. And you know what they did in Illinois? when they are facing billion-dollar shortfalls, they voted this year, their Democratic Congress voted to raise taxes 60%. They celebrated this. And companies like Caterpillar, that are family-owned companies that have been in Illinois for years, are looking for new states to move to. That's the result. But here in Kentucky, over the last 3 years, there have been a couple small tax increases that have come through, an alcohol tax increase and tobacco tax increase that David Williams forced through the Senate. But for the most part, the $400 million tax increases and trillion-dollar and billion-dollar debt-funded stimulus that the Democratic House here in Kentucky proposed have been stopped, and the governor won't even entertain those thoughts, and that's because of the pressure the Tea Parties in Kentucky have put on Frankfort. It's an incredible success that the conservatives in Kentucky have risen up and made something happen here. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all because in 2 years we can be confident that we're having an effect. But you can also be confident that there is so much more to do. I urge you to keep paying attention, keep standing up, keep coming out to rallies like this. And again, I urge you to check out my organization, the Kentucky Club for Growth. We have a website, kyclubforgrowth.org. I have a booth out here. If you want to see me, I'll be around for a couple minutes. We have another event in Covington I've got to run off to. But I really appreciate your time, and thanks for listening. Keep it up.